Today I'm giving you guys my week 9 power rankings, and let's go ahead and get started off with the Cincinnati Bengals. This team alone proves that it is such a week-to-week lead. 1 week ago, we were talking about them actually being in the playoff contention now because this offense looks so different with Joe Flacco as starting quarterback. But then this past week, they go and lose to the New York Jets that didn't even win a single game yet. Overall, I do think they're a lot better with Joe Flacco in that offense, but I don't think they're going to be consistent. Maybe win a big game every now and then. I'm still going to put them in C. I don't think they're going to make a playoff push or anything like that. It's going to be the New England Patriots, and it's very hard to rate them because they have such an easy schedule from here on out. They're only 5-game winning streak. 4 of those opponents are not really great opponents, being the Panthers, New Orleans Saints, the Tennessee Titans, and the Cleveland Browns. On one hand, they're looking like one of the most dominant teams in the AFC, but on the other, they're not playing anybody great. I really do still believe in them, though, especially with Drake May. I'm going to start putting them in that A category until they prove me otherwise. The New Orleans Saints, and even though they only won 1 game up to this point, honestly, they haven't been looking too terribly bad. I really don't understand why these pull Spencer Rattler and starting Tyler Shaw now. I still think they were one of the worst teams, though, so I still am going to put them in D. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I wasn't behind in hopes of them because they weren't looking too terribly bad, but the past 2 weeks, they lost to the Bengals, and then the Green Bay Packers. I know the Packers are a really good team, but I thought they could still hold their own. I still am going to put them in the B category, but probably a lot further down than I usually put them. The San Francisco 49ers, and this is probably the team I was most disappointed in this week because they were actually looking really good at playing football, even with their starting quarterback and a lot of their other starters. But then this week, they went up against the Houston Texans. The way the Texans have been looking as of recently, they should have easily beat them. Obviously, they end up losing this week. One of the most shocking losses of this week. I'm going to still put them in B because I do think they're still a really good team, but like the Pittsburgh Steelers, probably a lot further down than I usually put them. Arizona Cardinals were on a bye week this week, so I'm just going to put them where I had the previous, and that is in the bottom. It's just C. They've been low-key looking a lot better since Kyler Murray has been injured, so I'm really interested in what they'll look like this coming week when he gets back into the starting lineup. We have the Atlanta Falcons. I just can't help but just laughing at them because the Falcons fans and everybody else were hyping this team up, saying they're one of the best offenses in the league right now once they beat the Buffalo Bills, and now they just lost to the Miami Dolphins, like one of the worst teams in the NFL. Not only did they get beat by the Miami Dolphins, they got blown out versus them. I still think they have some good pieces to their team. They're just so inconsistent that I cannot take them serious up to this point. And flip-flopping between B and C, but with their big-time wins, I think I still am going to put them in B, but if they keep losing like they did this past week, I might have to drop them down. We're going to a team that surprised me in a good way this past weekend, the Baltimore Ravens. I honestly thought they were going to lose to the Bears even if they had Lamar Jackson. They still look very good without Lamar Jackson playing. They really needed this big-time win as well because with them winning and the Pittsburgh Steelers losing, they still in the playoff race. And I'm going to put them in B right above the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like everybody was questioning the Buffalo Bills because they weren't looking good, losing to the Patriots and Falcons in back-to-back weeks. We're kind of having them on for a while. I know my Carolina Panthers aren't the best opponent to go up and beat and say, hey, we're actually a good team, but they still dog-walled my Panthers 40-9. I really don't know if I see them as like a Super Bowl team this year, but honestly, if I don't put them in S, I'm probably not going to have any team in S besides for the Kansas City Chiefs, so I'm still going to put them in S. Now we have my Carolina Panthers, and like I just said, they got dog-walled by the Buffalo Bills. I still do trust in them, though. I feel like we're finally building a culture in Carolina, even though we just got blown out. One of the main reasons we got blown out is because we didn't have a Bryce Young. Like, we didn't have a starting quarterback. I need Andy Dalton off my team as soon as possible. I don't trust in us a lot, though, but I trust us enough to put us in C. At the Chicago Bears, I'm going to be honest. I started trusting Caleb Williams and this offense like a lot. I thought they were going to be really good versus the Ravens, but after this loss, I really don't know. I mean, I do trust in Caleb Williams in the long run. Does he need the rest of the year to kind of grow in this offense? Maybe so. Trust him enough to put him in B, but probably a lot further down than when I had them. We have the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to be honest, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Hey, shout out to Myles Garrett because he had himself a game versus the New England Patriots, but this offense is so bad. He just can't put it all on his back. I kind of feel bad for him, but I kind of don't at the same time because he just signed a new deal there and he knows what he was getting into. Now the Cowboys are up next, and honestly, this team really does confuse me because some weeks they actually look like a good team, like last week versus the Commanders, and then 3 weeks ago they tied up against the Green Packers, which is actually a very good team. Then they lost to the Panthers and then lost to the Broncos this past week. I expected them to lose to the Broncos but not get absolutely blown out versus them. I have some good things about the team, but I don't think they're going to be like one of the teams to go deep into the playoffs, so I'm putting them in B as well. It's going to be a lot of teams that I'll put in B just like every week. Next, we're doing a team that just beat them in the Denver Broncos. At the end of the season, I thought they were going to be one of the best teams in the NFL, but didn't really have the best start to this season. And now they're starting to find their stride a little bit, beating the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a huge comeback to beat the Giants and then beat the Dallas Cowboys by 20 points this past week. I really think Bo Nix is starting to find his stride and being like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and defense is looking great. People are going to say I'm hyping them up too much, but I really am going to put them in the A category. Detroit Lions also had a bye week, so I'm just going to put them where I had them last week, and that is in the A category as well. The Titans lost this past week once again, and even though I think they're looking a lot better since they fired their head coach and Brian Callahan, still I'm going to put them in D. I do think they're the worst team in the NFL still. Had a couple questions about the Green Bay Packers because the offense hadn't been looking as great, but then this past week versus Steelers, Jordan Love looked absolutely fantastic, especially with Tucker Kraft. I mean, he had over 200 yards, I think. Still do think they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and especially in the NFC, so I'm putting them in the top of the 8. We have the Houston Texans. Obviously, their offense was struggling a lot, mainly because the offensive line, like CJ Stroud, couldn't breathe in the pocket, but then they got a big-time win versus the 49ers. Is this a fluke win, or are they officially back? I kind of think it's more of a fluke win, to be honest. I do kind of trust in CJ Stroud still, though, so I'm going to put him in B. Then we have the Indianapolis Colts. Now I'm buying him more and more into this team every single week. Put Jonathan Taylor in the MVP race, even though I know a running back is not going to win it because Saquon didn't win it last year, so there's no possible way. Still do look at them as one of the teams that are going to do good in the regular season. When it gets to the playoffs, they're probably going to lose in the first round. So I am going to hold them back from putting them in the A category. I'm going to put them in straight into B, and I kind of do think the same thing about the Patriots, so I'm going to put them in the top of B as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars and LA Rams were in a bye week as well, so I'm just going to put them where I had them. Jaguars are going to go and be right above the Atlanta Falcons. They do have some good things about their team, but honestly, I think they just have way too many holes, especially in that passing game, to put them very high in the category. The LA Rams are going to also go and be right under the Indianapolis Colts. I think they have a really good team. When the offense is clicking and actually have Puka Nacua healthy, I do think they're one of the greatest offenses in the NFL. Just the problem is, half of the time they aren't clicking. The LA Chargers finally got another win after losing 3 out of their past 4 games. It was a very good win as well against a decent Vikings team. They blew them out. I don't think they're like a Super Bowl team like we thought at the beginning of the season, but I do think they're a really good one. So I'm going to put them behind the Rams. Miami Dolphins are on next. And even though they just blew out the Atlanta Falcons, I'm not trusting them just yet. Still think they're one of the worst teams. Still think Mike McDonald should be fired, and still don't think Tua Tagovailoa should be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So I'm still going to put them in D. The next team I kind of have a bone to pick with, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. I understand now, and I understand at the time they let Sam Darnold walk for pretty much nothing. You had a young quarterback in JJ McCarthy that you wanted to see what he can do, but at the same time, when you had the offense that you had with Sam Darnold, I don't think you just let that quarterback just walk away for nothing. One thing that they're struggling at is quarterback. Like, if they had a quarterback, I actually think this would be a good team, but without it, they are not. So I'm going to put them in that C category. I feel so bad for the New York Giants team and their fans. It feels like every time they get a good player get hurt. That happened with Malik Neighbors. Now it happens with Cam Scatterbo. Even though they do have Jackson Dart in that offense, he's trying to do everything that he can to put this team in contention to actually play in games, and he's doing a phenomenal job at it. I just think they still have a lot to build up on, especially that defense and the secondary. Still am going to put them in B because with Jackson Dart, I feel like they have a chance in every single game that they play in, right above the Atlanta Falcons. New York Jets are up next, and shout out to Justin Fields. I am so glad that he had a good game because he is one of the most likable quarterbacks in the NFL, I feel like. After having a really bad week versus the Carolina Panthers, they were talking about benching him. He said he was to end up crying and praying in his closet, and with his back up against the wall, he came out here and absolutely balled out. I love the way he played. Still do think they're one of the worst teams. I mean, they only have one win up to this point of the season, so I can't put them too terribly high. So I am still going to put them in D, but hey, congratulations, Justin Fields, and I hope he does have a really good rest of the season as well. The Raiders and the Seahawks both had bye weeks, so I'm kind of putting where I had them at the past week. The Raiders, I'm keeping them in D. Still do think they're one of the worst teams, and then the Seahawks, I'm putting them in B as well. Their offense and defense are both looking amazing. I don't know how far they're going to the playoffs yet because I don't know how well Sam Darnold will be in the playoffs, but for right now, they're one of the best teams in the NFC. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really do still want to trust in this team, but honestly, the past 2 weeks have been looking amazing. Baker Mayfield has kind of been struggling. I mean, they did just blow the Saints 23-3, but it was the New Orleans Saints. Honestly, the Saints held in that game for the most of it. Still do trust them though, but just don't trust them as much with Baker Mayfield kind of going down a little bit in the performance-wise. I'm going to put them in B right under the Chargers, and then we have the Philadelphia Eagles up next. And I know everybody was panicking on them. They went on a 2-game losing streak, losing to the Broncos and Giants. Then they won the past 2 weeks versus the Vikings Falcons, and then the Giants. Again, even though they're not amazing opponents that they've beaten so far, they're coming off the Super Bowl and just what they have on their roster on the offensive and defensive side. They're still the team that I trust the most in the NFC, so I am going to put them in the top of S. And now it's time for our last two teams that I just got finished watching in Monday Night Football. First is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They're officially back. No need to waste any time. I'm putting them in the very top of the S. Once they got Rashee Rice back, it was just all up from there. We had the Watch Commanders. Obviously, they're not looking the same way that they were last season when they went all the way to the NFC Championship game. Also, without Jaden Daniels, they look even worse. I think Marcus Mariota played alright. They still do have some good pieces about their team, but not a lot. I am going to put them in B, probably the last spot in B, though. That's my Week 9 Power Rankings, everybody. We're really almost halfway through the season already. That's absolutely crazy and sucks, to be honest. But thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll check you guys out next time. Peace.